Imagine a complete scenario. The depravity and moral degradation of people try to prohibit communication with angel and daughter pledge unworthy. Act on yourself. Father, today we are deeper than many men, whose choice brought him to the center. Ready for great events. Understand God's judgment, ending with the destruction of the entire society. I take this opportunity to request you to quickly and stay with us until this end. Interesting story about Lot's leadership. The Bible takes place in one book, Genesis, around chapter 11. The original story of the land. Prominent figure in the biblical call. Curious about what it means. Name some of these. Perhaps symbolically in a subtle way. Ed to keep up appearances. Before everyone according to the Bible. The narrative after the death of Lot's father left the city of Ur to the Chaldeans who followed him. Grandfather Pharaoh, Uncle Abraham, and Sarah of Aram. Later, when the headlights died, a lot followed. Abraham came to the land of Canaan during the time of severe famine. They came to Egypt. The result was hardship for Abraham and Sarah. Why did Lot return to Canaan with them for this? Time and Abraham and Lot prospered until their wealth and livestock increased beyond what she can support. This earth leads to disagreement between them. The contrast of the pastors between Abraham and there are many obvious things in the choice that both do when encountering problems, and Abraham shows his ability. Complete trust in God's promises and guidance. Your life is based on obedience, and I believe he is an example of a man that puts the divine will above all. Worldly benefits, a remarkable episode. Takes place in Dubrave Mamre once upon a time. Abraham stood at the tent door and noticed the appearance of three mysterious people. Suggested traveler stories that these people have special natures. Because Abraham was willing to honor them, he greet them in an exemplary manner. Hospitality provides relaxing, and food at the meeting has been confirmed. Sacred promise, one of the visitor reported that on the top, Sarah has started school next year, will give birth to a son when old. Promise consistent with God's previous covenant. Ensure that Abraham's descendants will be the same. Like the stars in the sky, although this meeting reflects Abraham's faith and hospitality, the plot of land seems to be on the other side, influenced by worldly ambitions and temptations. When a dispute between his shepherds became Abraham's inevitable spiritual manifestation, maturity brings detachment. Save the peace he allows a lot before. Choose settlement area, then Lot. Choose the fertile plains of Jordan, near the Dead Sea in the city. Sodom based his decision on material considerations, reveal his sensitivity to the sights of this world and difference from Abraham's further search. Deep relationship with God in this way. The division between them marks a decisive moment in Lot's history. Follow a spiritual path and ethics check after a Lot. Separated from Abraham, he decided to live in Sodom, the city famous for its depravity, position in local society, despite he himself was extremely worried because of anger. The people of the Apostle Peter in the New Testament emphasize that many people have been suffering continuously, is a witness to the evils committed around him while Lot lived in Sodom. War broke out between the kings of Mesopotamia Invasion of Sodom and Gomorrah, Admah. Seba and Zogor and the invaders defeated them, plundered Sodom, and took many prisoners. Its inhabitants included Lot. When Abraham, knowing what had happened, he gathered everyone and led the night rescue. Abraham campaign defeated him. The enemy released the prisoners and returned. Goods were stolen during this time. Abraham meets Melchizedek, central character of the Bible. Against all odds, stories abound. Decided to stay in Sodom even after the history of conflict. Move forward to the moment when two angels visit Sodom. The city is immersed in evil, reflecting the state of affairs. Remember the message of Jeremiah. Chapter 3:2 has verses in it. Emphasize that God does not ignore. Send a cry against injustice. God's angel reveals his intentions. Explore the sinful depths of the city. Reaffirm its commitment, justice, and its intolerance of evil. However, with the observed level, God decides to destroy corruption. The behavior of the inhabitants of Sodom later. Meet the angels, highlight them. Townspeople demand debauchery to bring a lot of visitors to them. May have committed criminal acts. With a controversial gesture, many people were sacrificed. Stepdaughter shows her morality, fragility, and corruption, one of the main causes. Meanwhile, Sodom's harsh judgment. The Bible shows us courageous intervention. Abraham, he knew about God's plan. Destroy Sodom, ask God for forgiveness. The righteous may be there. This dialogue exists to reflect the faith. Abraham into the mercy of God. In the 5th chapter of James, verse 16, they teach that the prayer of a righteous man has great power, and this can be seen from Abraham's behavior in the dialogue with God. Negotiates between, and bombs emphasize the sacred mercy Abraham asked again and again. God will spare the city if it contains a few righteous people, and God is willing to reconsider his decision because of little resonance. Here is the message of the Psalm chapter. Verse 15, but you, Lord. This passage, charming and faithful charity, emphasize that God is always ready. Please hear the sincere prayer of your servant. The story finally proves divine compassion sent two angels came to save Lot and his family first. How Sodom and Gomorrah were destroyed. Salvation represents God's faithfulness, his covenant with Abraham, and his covenant with ready to kill people. Chaos and evil surround them as the residents. Sodom determined to capture the angels. We're in Lot's house. They intervened and punished them with blindness and deprived them of opportunities. Find the door, then the angel commanded a Lot. Gather your family and leave immediately. A city doomed to destruction due to the severity of the situation, Lot hesitated, and the whole family was forced out of the city while they escaped. Warning, don't look back, but Lot's wife ignored this instruction and turned into salt pillar. The wife lined with salt symbolizes heaviness, consequences of disobeying God's guidance. Although Lot escaped Sodom's punishment, I decided to live near the city. Enormous moral and spiritual consequences for him and his family. This story highlights their hardship. Maintain trust and integrity in corrupt environment reflects the problem that many people face today. Christians living in societies often contradicts biblical values, left the garden with his daughters and ran away. Small town, but fear for them. Small town, but fear for them. Decide your safety in a mountain cave. This attitude trusts in God's plan. Contrast with Abraham's third faith. Having trouble trusting God, the cave is more than a promise. Physical shelter, but also a state. Emotional and mental isolation reflects how trauma can lead to isolates and makes it difficult to restore communication with life, and a dark event that happened in the relationship. Lot's daughters feared it because of the isolation. They will not have descendants have developed a plan. They got their father drunk and spent many nights, had sex with him repeatedly to ensure family continuity. Of this kinship was born Maya Inami, who became the ancestor of Mavitianskaya. Lot's story continues to highlight him. Complex and contradictory relationship with daughter after Sodom was destroyed. However, the Bible does not give details about his life after these events. I don't know if he can start things. The first or the remaining days he spent in the mountains marked by their wounds. Stories in the second letter of the 2 Peter, chapter 7 and 8 verses a lot. Called the righteous sufferer because he lived among the wickedness of Sodom. And New Testament Jesus mentions Lot in Luke. Talk about the last days warning of the importance of obedience and spirituality. Ready Lot's narrative provides an important lesson about consequences of unfounded choices. Faith is not like Abraham, often called the father of faith, acted according to his own will, ideas and interests that caused a lot of problems and pain to his family. His history has given us think about what our decisions might be like. Impact our lives and faith by serving. Valuable warning for Christians, so they can decide today. Problems with obedience and trusting God. The story of Sodom and Gomorrah comes to life. Biblical examples of consequences. Disobey God and choose a different way of life. What these events teach us. Profound lessons on the holiness of judgment and God's mercy despite destruction. These cities are a testament to that. God's justice against sin also revealed his mercy and salvation. Lot and his family show that God, always ready to save those who turn to him. He gave our life. Sodom, Gomorrah represents a spiritual calling. Vigilance. We live in a world where often imbued with values contrary to biblical principles, and it's like we're faced with a mission. Maintain your integrity and obedience amidst the temptations that surround us, and Lot's pressure decides to live near Sodom. Warn us of the dangers. Approach to environments that may endanger our faith, and value, moreover, the transformation of a wife. The salt batch in the salt column serves as a reminder on the importance of following through without hesitation. God guides and don't look back. The past that God calls us to leave behind. This story calls us completely. Trust God even when his ways are difficult, seem confusing, and turn away from everything that separates us. Let us learn from Sodom and Gomorrah. Value holiness, seek God's will in all our decisions, and still firm in their faith, believing the same thing. How he saved Lot, he is strong to save us and guide us through the troubles of this world. Take Lot's story as a source. Inspiration for us all. Your opinion in the comment section, don't forget. Subscribe to the channel and click on one of the video will appear on the screen to keep following our content. God be with you.